Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 council meeting. First, a call to order. Councillor Bothwell.
Here.
Councillor Dunstall.
Here.
Councillor Frake.
Here.
Councillor Cadwell.
Here. Here.
Councillor Ritchie.
Here.
Councillor Sharp.
I'm here.
Councillor Bain.
Here.
Councillor Vardy.
Here.
And Regional Councillor Furtick is joining us as well.
I'm here.
Any disclosures of interest? Seeing none, that's noted. And I'm just going to start with opening statement. Good evening. Well, another long weekend has come and gone, and this one was certainly different than any other. And I just want to thank everyone in Grimsby for practicing physical distancing and common sense. As we gradually open up things again, common sense is paramount. We have to do this right, or our numbers will spike. With the good weather coming, keep up the good work, Grimsby. Thank you. Up first, we have the adoption of the previous council meeting minutes of May 4th. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Bain, seconded by Councillor Vardy. Recorded vote. Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake.
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell.
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie.
Yay.
Councillor Sharp.
Yay.
Councillor Bain.
Yay.
Councillor Vardy.
Yay.
And myself, I'm a yay, so that's carried. And up next, I'd like to welcome Aaron Levo, VP Communication and Public Affairs at Hamilton Health Sciences. Welcome, Aaron. Good evening. Nice to virtually see you here.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I know Harry had asked me to join today, and I'm really pleased to do so. Just to cover off a few things related to the redevelopment that we're pursuing for West Lincoln Memorial Hospital. I guess foremost to Council and to you, Mayor, thank you for your support. To Councillor Cadwell, who's been on our West Lincoln Community Advisory Council, and to Harry for your leadership too, certainly in the work we've been doing to think about the local share of financing that will be required as we pursue this project. I can say I continue to be amazed at the collaboration that we've received across municipal lines from the 3 West Niagara municipalities and your respective counterparts, Mayor and Council, in those other jurisdictions, and as well with the local MPP, with Sam Oosterhoff, and with the government of Ontario at large. This would be, and as well, I probably failed to mention somebody, but our partners at the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital Foundation too, I think, have been integral in the discussion and the kind of optimism that we're looking to convey for the project as we move forward. We've had the most tremendous support from the provincial government to expedite planning on this project. I mean, a real headline that I'd love to bring to this meeting is that notwithstanding the challenges we faced during the COVID-19 pandemic, we still find ourselves largely on time and on schedule as it relates to the planning that we've been asked to do as Hamilton Health Sciences. It was a little bit more challenging, of course, to bring working groups together at a time that we're dealing with the pandemic and also trying to respect physical distancing. But we have found a way to get that work still trucking along, and those meeting groups are starting now. We've also issued an RFP for the architect that'll help us get through the third stage of the project, the third stage of the planning process that the government requires of us. So that's really great news, because we're doing some of the work in those stages concurrently to try and make up time that we might have lost from the pandemic and those challenges associated that I just mentioned. The timing for that project is totally under the purview of the province, and they've been quite clear. Their most recent timing update was last fall in the Infrastructure Ontario Fall Update, which had a financial close for this project in 2022. Which means that we would seek to get shovels in the ground at the same time. So that's a really wonderful thing. I know that we all are working towards that goal and really want to see that happen. And so from Hamilton Health Sciences, thank you for the support you've provided. I'm happy to answer any questions, respond to the council on behalf of the partners that have been involved to date, and really look forward to continuing to work with you and your community on this just outstanding project, this critical piece of the West Niagara community that we're building together.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for your report. And yes, we're really excited about moving this forward. Councillor Bothwell, question?
Thanks again very much, Aaron, for the presentation and the documents that were attached as appendixes, which give an overview of the good things that are to come. I don't want to be a wet blanket, but I just want to ask a question about Infrastructure Ontario and the P3 winter market update. We're still not seeing whether the P3, which is private-public partnerships for the model for this, and it still is showing to be determined whether it's design, build, finance, maintain. So I have two questions, whether or not we're any further on knowing the intent of Infrastructure Ontario on that model. And the second being, unfortunately, it looks like the Halton courthouse, consolidated courthouse, which was in procurement under Infrastructure Ontario, was canceled due to a number of things that they're saying. They're going to revamp it and integrate some COVID sort of measures into a new model. So that's put a little bit of a back burner for Halton. Do we see any potential barriers to moving forward with regards to the potential planning, and whether or not COVID will impact how we plan for what it will look like moving forward? And just if you have any ideas on that, that would be helpful. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for the questions, Councillor. I'll deal with the first one around the DBF, DBFM modeling for the project. I mean, certainly that's the purview of IO, of Infrastructure Ontario. We don't have a confirmed release from them on what that'll be, but we continue, as you may or may not know, as we progress through the stages of planning. Infrastructure Ontario will have a much more hands-on role working with us in the third stage of the project planning, which we're just embarking on shortly now. So I would expect that information will be coming very quickly in the months or even weeks ahead. With respect to question two, I mean, I wouldn't propose to speak on behalf of the province with what was happening with the Halton Courthouse. All I can say is from the Hamilton Health Sciences experience working with the various ministry leaders that we are working with, and certainly with the political will that we've been receiving tremendous support. My colleagues, again, if my VP colleague of capital planning were here, I'm quite certain she would say that in her time in hospital construction, it's quite unprecedented, the progress we're making and the way at which the government is, from the political half of government, instructing the bureaucratic half of government to work as expeditiously as possible on this project to meet the aggressive timelines that have been set. So as I said in my update, for our own point of view, we've been doing everything we can to double down on projects so that we can make up time where we might lose it in other ways. That was rather fortuitous because it turned out we were facing a pandemic for the last 2 months that made some of the planning challenging, but some of the steps we've taken previously and now can take with the support of government moving forward are making up for that time. So we don't see a delay in the near term, knock on wood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vardy.
Yes, I have a question for you. I'd like to know, I mean, I understand that you've gone out to tender for architects, and I'm wondering, will we be able to see any of the preliminary design options?
Counselor, that's one of the most important things for me as a communicator. Nothing's real until you see it, and I can't wait for that to happen. We had a preliminary sketch done. It was an artist's rendering based on our general assumption around the massing of the building, but I've been very dogged in asking my colleagues when we'll have some ability to develop a real drawing of what the real hospital will look like. The answer is probably we're still about 6 months away from having an accurate artist depiction. Now that won't stop us from still taking liberties with how the building will look on the site, generally speaking. So as we get into that phase, I think we can do some really interesting things, some engagement with the community around what the design could look like. We know where it will be situated on the property. We can make some general assumptions about its size, its height, its massing. But the real architecture piece will come together in stage 3, which is work to be done over the year ahead. So we'll probably be months away from a true representation, but we'll have an artist's version.
So when you talked about massing, how high?
I couldn't speak to that with a great deal of accuracy right now. I didn't come prepared to answer that detail. We can certainly follow up. My understanding, though, was in previous conceptions were in the 3 to 4 story range, but again, don't hold me to that. We would conform with whatever the planning directives are from the municipality, and would obviously want to work through that process with you and with the city.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sharp's up next.
Thank you to Aaron for bringing your delegation tonight. I'm very happy about the announcement in stage 2 that they're going to continue the maternity ward in the new hospital. Frankly, it can't happen soon enough. My wife and I are expecting a baby in August, and this will actually be our second baby born since the election. The first was at West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, but the next will have to be in St. Catharines. So, no rush. We have about 60 days. Just kidding. Anyhow, thanks again for your presentation, and I look forward to seeing more.
Congratulations on the growth of your family, Councillor, and for sure, we're working as quickly as we're thrilled that all of the services that are currently at West Lincoln Memorial Hospital will find their way into the new facility as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Councillor Cadwell, and can you use your raise hand button from now on? It just makes it confusing, but you're up next. Thanks.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Mayor Jordan. I'll do my best to do that. I don't want to blow this thing the way it's set up now. So yeah, and thank you very much, Aaron, for your presentation. It's always a pleasure being the representative on the advisory committee to when you come with your staff members to our meetings. The presentations you give there are very, very good. The updates are fantastic. So yeah, I just wanted to, I'm just reading through that we received in our agenda, the letter from Mr. McIsaac back on March the 4th. Just a clarification, not clarification, but just that people are aware of how the funding is working. The province pays for the building, and the foundation is responsible for where it says here, the new equipment, furniture, fixtures, and the parking lot infrastructure. So I guess what I'm asking, Aaron, is with the work that's being done to the parking lot now, that will be an existing, are you seeing and believing that will be the part of the existing parking lot for the new hospital too? The money that we're putting into that parking lot right now. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for the question, Councillor. The current parking lot is outdated and was dangerous. It was, if you've ever been there, it's,
yep.
It was not going to survive another year. Just some background on that. The cost of that parking lot is 100% paid for by the Hamilton Health Sciences Volunteer Association. So does not in any way divert funding from the equipment or support needs for the fund or for any fundraising that's occurred locally. So we're very fortunate to have them as the operator of our parking facilities at all Hamilton Health Sciences sites, and they did do an assessment and decided that it was time for that one to get an upgrade. So that's the first thing. To the extent, however, that we can reuse that and reuse anything that's appropriate to do so to mitigate costs, particularly as it relates to the local share of financing, we'll be doing that. So I think there's some wonderful acquisitions in terms of equipment, things that are used at the bedside, as well as computers and technology that'll be carried over into the new facility where it's appropriate to do so. And if there's areas of the larger grounds and property, such as the parking lot, that remain appropriate after all the bulldozers have left, we'll use them too.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much for that clarification, Aaron. That's greatly appreciated. Both HHS is taking care of the parking lot. That's a good news story. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for your presentation. Really nice to have an update. Really nice to see you here. We'll look forward to seeing you in person, maybe at the next time we meet. Just need a mover and seconder to receive this motion. Moved by Councillor Sharp, second by Councillor Cadwell. Moved by Councillor Sharp, second by Councillor Cadwell. Resolved that the delegation from Aaron Levo, Communications and Public Affairs at Hamilton Health Sciences, be received. Recorded vote, Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake.
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell.
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie.
Yay.
Councillor Sharp.
Yay.
Councillor Bain.
Yay.
Councillor Vardy.
Yay.
Myself is yay. That's carried. Up next, we have report CAO 20-05, commitment in providing local contribution in the rebuilding of West Lincoln Memorial Hospital. CAO Schlang.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Yes, I just want to provide some highlights of the report. It is a critical time for this motion to be approved. It's a critical step in going from stage 2 to stage 3. And as you note, I put in Appendix B, the letter from the CEO and President, Rob McIsaac, on saying that we needed this commitment for the local contribution by May 31st. So we're presenting today, and Lincoln and West Lincoln will be presenting this motion next week on May 25th at their council meeting. The motion itself was developed by all three of us, the CAOs, and approved by Hamilton Health Sciences and the foundation. And, you know, as you know, the estimated cost of the hospital would be about $200 million, and the local contribution is 30%. And at this point, the commitment is based on all three municipalities, the foundation, and we're working with the Region Municipality of Niagara. We will be firming up our individual contributions by December the 1st is when we have to firm those up. We estimate that the council has really been behind this all along, right from the start. You've approved it in your strategic priorities, and in the budget process, you approved a contribution of $200,000 this year, and a funding plan that would take us out to 2023. At the time of the budget, the information we had at the time, we estimated that our portion would be $12 million, and then we developed a funding plan from then. Knowing what we know now, it's probably going to be north of that. It could be as high as $5 million more than that. We're hoping not. We want to work with the region and the foundation to reduce that. But the treasurer and I have worked out some funding models, and we, regardless of if it's $3 to $5 million more, we think it'll be a very nominal or no impact on the 2021 budget, because we would amortize the debt a bit longer. We see that interest rates have come down a lot from when we made those assumptions in the budget. So we would make every effort to make sure there's no impact in the 2021 budget, but I thought I would tell you that it will be north of that 12 million contribution. And we'll have that finalized by December 1st. I wanted to say the commitments by the three mayors and the foundation and Sam Osterhoff, our MPP, we've been at several meetings and there's been nothing but full support for this project, and everybody's moving along and ensuring that the timing, that 2022 getting shovels in the ground is something that we're all working towards. So the motion that we recommend is in Appendix A. And yeah, I recommend strongly that council approve this motion so we can move forward to the next stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sang. Questions, Councillor Frake, I see.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Harry, we have to have this reporting by the December the 1st of this year. Is that right? That's what I read.
This motion needs to be committed to today.
Okay.
In Appendix A, and then we have to finalize our local contributions, like exactly what the town of Grimsby is going to be contributing, as well as West Lincoln and Lincoln and the foundation, and hopefully the region municipality of Niagara. That has to be finalized by December 1.
Okay. Second question is, do we have to pony up any of that amount of money? Is it going to be done in stages, and when will the first stage be affected? Like when do we have that first amount contributed?
Yeah, the amount has to be payable 6 months after substantial completion of the project. So if we're hoping we get shovels in the ground in 2022, you know, whatever the construction period takes, and then 6 months before substantial completion. So sometime in 2023, 2024.
Okay, so we passed a resolution tonight. The report goes in by December the 1st, but we don't have to pony up any money till way down the road. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Frake. Councillor Vardy's up next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to CEO Schlang, I'm wondering, is there any history of the region putting money towards the building of the St. Catharines Hospital? So what I'm wondering is, you know, is there a precedent for the region to make a contribution to this hospital?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Vardy, yes, there was, remembering that the hospital in St. Catharines is also a regional cancer center. So there was a contribution to the regional cancer center. And there was some in-kind work done by the region for the St. Catharines Hospital. So we've got all those reports. We're working through those numbers, and that's what we're working with the region. So there has been a precedent set that way.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. Any further questions? Don't see any. So I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Ritchie. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Ritchie. Resolved that report CA 20-05 dated May 19th, 2020 be received, and the motion included as Appendix A regarding the town of Grimsby's commitment to the local share of financing for a new West Lincoln Memorial Hospital be approved. Recorded vote, Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake.
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell. Councillor Cadwell.
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie.
Yay.
Councillor Sharp.
Yay.
Councillor Bain.
Yay.
Councillor Vardy.
Yay.
Myself, a yay, so that is carried. Up next, we have report DPW 20-13, site alteration bylaw approval. Brandon Wortman, you're up on this. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. So at last council meeting, staff had brought forward a report for council's consideration with respect to the approval of the latest version of the site alteration bylaw. At that meeting, council directed staff to have the town's lawyer complete a review of the bylaw and provide any additional input or revisions that they might have. Following the meeting, staff sent the bylaw to our lawyer, who completed a review and made some changes. And the changes have been captured in the current revision being brought forward to council and have been summarized in my report. Just to say, like to say that, the additional review time and extra set of eyes has given us an opportunity to tighten up the bylaw that much more. I feel confident now, again, that the bylaw provides a very thorough framework to allow staff to regulate site alterations going forward. So I am recommending that the bylaw gets approved tonight with council's consideration. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Councillor Sharp?
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. And thank you to Brandon. This bylaw looks good. There's been small changes. I like the part that's been added about that the applicant has to certify that they are not accepting remuneration or other compensation for the fill being placed or removed from their land. And the way I read it, from what I read it before, is that so these commercial fill operations are no longer allowed in Grimsby.
Correct.
I think that does a lot for, so half of my ward is on Grimsby Mountain and on Kemp Road and other areas around Wolverton and on that part of the mountain. We've had thousands of trucks coming up there and dumping fill, and I don't know all the details about their arrangements, but what I hear from residents is that these guys are getting, $50 to $150 a load. We're talking a substantial amount of money to take this fill. And if we remove that and have them certify that they are not accepting cash for fill, then the only people that would be applying for this would be people who are trying to make their land better. And I don't have any problem with farmers making their land better. I don't have any problem with residents who want to bring up their grade to use their property. And I think the rest of the bylaw and the way that it regulates the type of fill that they can bring and the ways that they can bring it are good. But I think the most important part and the thing that I've been keeping my eye on is that we will not allow commercial fill operations in the town of Grimsby. And I think that's going to, I think that this might stop the fill on the mountain and the problem that we've had. So great work, Brandon. Thank you to our bylaw department and the others involved in this.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Up next, we have Councillor Bothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan, and thanks, Brandon, again for all your hard work and going over that with me when I raised some questions. Appreciate that. I just have a couple other quick questions. Well, it might involve actually a friendly amendment to the bylaw. I'll see what you think, because the new section that was added, which is the delegation section of that the Part 4, Administration and Delegated Authority, number 5, the director is authorized and has the delegated authority too, and then it lists a number of those delegations from A to K. The only thing I have a concern about is that administration and delegated authority does not include council in any way, and yet under section, just a second here. Under section 9, part IX, consideration by council over 1,000 cubic meters, number 25, it does state that where the site alteration involves removal or dumping of fill, it exceeds 1,000 cubic meters, may only be issued when approved by council, which shall have the same powers as the director pursuant to this bylaw. So I think that what we need to do is we need to identify council as having the same authorities as the director in that first section. I would like to see it amended to say and council, which shall have the same powers as the director pursuant to this bylaw, including that wording in, we're following director. So the director is authorized, so I would say the director, comma, and council, which has the same blah, 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 blah as is authorized. Is that a problem? That's my first point, because we have to somehow show that council does have delegated authority here.
So yeah, just to answer that, I think you're right in the second section that you referenced with respect to council having authority as the director when it comes to the 1,000 cubic meters. So again, so that section that you're referencing, the first section, the director is authorized to delegate, is authorized and has the delegated authority to, refers to council with respect to 1,000 cubic meters or more. Otherwise, it defers to the.
But it doesn't define us in any way in this section, which is
Not in this section, but it does in the other section you referenced. So,
yeah.
And this is the language that was specifically put in there by our lawyer. So to me, I think it's captured both the director of public works, who's authorized under the bylaw to enforce or provide his authority. And then when it comes into council's purview in terms of the larger amounts, you have those same authorities as the director when it comes to that amount. That's how I interpret things.
I see it in the body of the document. I just don't see it in the delegated authority actually definition of who has it. And if you could just double check that. I know we're going to approve this bylaw tonight, and I'm just worried that I don't want council to lose out because it's not in that section of delegated authority. That's my concern.
I could certainly double check with our legal lawyer and confirm that. But again, that's my interpretation. But
okay. The only thing I was
check with
thinking
them.
is that after the director, comma, and council, which has the same rights and blah, blah, blah under this bylaw, is authorized and has. That's the only thing I was thinking of so that it's inclusive, that we have the same rights as you for all of those items that fall under section 5. So that's just my only concern, is that I don't want just because council is quoted somewhere further down under 1,000, all these other factors apply. That's just one. Thank you for checking. The second point was, I noticed that the appeal process that's included now, that anyone who wishes to appeal goes through you, and you are the one that's actually the permitting authority, and you are the one who will hear the appeal. Was there any discussion about at arm's length having an appeal person do that rather than you being the one who's doing the permitting as it is and hearing the appeal?
So the way, again, I understand it is it goes to that director's authority again. So when we're talking about a greater than 1,000 cubic meter site alteration, that ultimate decision goes to council, just the same as the primary decision in terms of the appeal. I've also, again, maybe it's not specifically stated in the bylaw, but there is an intent that if we had any concerns with respect to an application brought forward, we could certainly speak to our lawyers in terms of what the concerns are in relation to how our bylaw is written, and get to direction from them to determine, is this the correct decision or not. So again, I don't think it's necessary to bring in a third party when, we're the governing agency. It's our bylaw. We have the authority to regulate this within the municipality. You're giving the Director of Public Works a certain amount of ability to deal with the majority of the bylaw. And then when we're talking about the larger operations, that's when council gets involved.
Okay, so if there was any question about you hearing the appeal, I'm not talking about the council hearing the over 1,000, I'm talking about the smaller ones where you might say no, that and then they say, well, you're the permitting authority and you're the appeal authority, so it's not like you're outside of it, so I just wonder if that might come up, but we won't know until we see how this goes. The other thing I would ask, and I think that so much work has been put into this, but I just actually, I suspect you're on top of it, but the excess soil regulations that were passed by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, that comes out of the EPA, it was just passed effective December 2019, and it restricts, it has a whole bunch of transitional measures that are coming into play. One of them is actually on testing in soil in July of 2020, I think it is. So there's a few steps in that new regulation that may impact how we administer this site alteration bylaw. So what I would like to say is if we can have this reviewed annually, just to ensure that we're keeping up with those regulations, and if there's any wording changes that we need to take into consideration, we can do that. So is that, it doesn't say that it'll be annually reviewed, but could we put that in as and could you also look at that excess soil regulations to see if we're on target for some of those timelines that are coming up?
Yeah, so in terms of the actual bylaw, again, the way I envision this, like I come from a quality management background, so a lot of the policies we put in place are the first shot at it. We function on what you call a continual improvement mandate, so you're always reviewing your documentation and revising it, bringing up to date, whether it's the changes in regulations or it's changes in how you interpret things, or you're coming across issues in the field that, hey, the bylaw doesn't say that, we need to amend that to correct that issue. So I do foresee that as we roll this out, I'm sure there's gonna be hiccups through it, and we're gonna identify those and tighten up the bylaw even more, and we'll bring it back to council at that time.
Thank you, that's appreciated very much.
Mhm.
Thanks.
All right, up next we have Councillor Vardy, then Councillor Bain.
Hi, Brendan. Thanks a lot. Great work. And I know this is like a big item for the town of Grimsby, and you're taking lots of calls on trucks, and I really appreciate all the help that you've given me and all of us, you know, because we've seen some recent activity that have been a little bit problematic. My question for you is, how can we monitor no cash for fill? Like, what mechanism do we have in place to make sure that, I don't know, people aren't getting paid under the table? Or
So there's a couple ways of we do that. Obviously, the first is we're making them either sign complete a fill notification or a fill permit. And when they fill out that information, there is a question in there which speaks to remuneration. Again, they would have to falsify, if they're accepting money, they're falsifying that information. The other mechanisms are the framework of the approvals to begin with, right? So we're not, it's not like the bylaw specifies it has to be certain uses or certain acceptable practices to be, to allow fill to come in. So it's going to eliminate the people who are just bringing in fill. And I think I said this at last meeting, bringing in fill and piling it layer upon layer upon layer. There's mechanisms in place that will restrict those type of actions. So in addition to them having to indicate that they are not accepting money for it, there's also those mechanisms that should help prevent those type of operations where it's strictly someone bringing in fill and paying a property owner to do it. They'd have to, again, they'd have to follow within that framework to make it an acceptable practice. Hopefully that answers. I mean,
so
we can't ask them for copies of any agreements they have in place, but again, by tightening it up, the budget, the bylaw a little bit more, we're at least asking them to verify in writing that they're not seeking money for it or receiving money for it.
So two questions. One, would there be a penalty if we found they were in contravention? And two, am I correct in understanding you in that the application would in a way dictate whether or not it's likely to be fill for cash, right? Because if it's not a reasonable application, then it wouldn't make sense to do it otherwise.
Correct.
But what about a penalty? If we
So there are penalties in the bylaw which talk about contraventions. Anytime there's a contravention, we have the ability to add a $250 per day administration fee. And I think that's through the AMPS program, if I'm correct. And then also there's charges per person or per corporation. I think the first charge for a person is around $10,000 and corporation is around $25,000. So again, those would go through the courts. We'd have to prove that that they were receiving money for it. But there is an opportunity, or there's framework in there to lay charges if we have to.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Councillor Bain.
Excuse me. Hi, Brandon. Just a really quick question. Is this bylaw similar to other towns? Like
so-
Lincoln and West Lincoln, that type of thing?
Yeah, so this one is based on West Lincoln's bylaw. We did take the existing bylaw and Grimsbyized it, I guess, if that's a word. So we did add some additional changes. Again, when our legal team reviewed it, they also added some more stuff. So again, I think we've taken the framework that they established, and we've built upon that and made it a little bit more rigid in terms of our rules and how we apply them in terms of Grimsby.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councillor Cadwell, you wanted to speak?
Yes. Am I on? Oh, hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, hi, Brandon. Sorry, I think I'm going to go for some more training on this, doing this. But yeah, thank you very much for the report. Excellent document. I read through the 60 pages of it. And if I missed it, I apologize. I have two questions with regards to the site alteration bylaw. Is there any stipulation to half load season, which is obviously in March and April, for the rural roads, being what we've gone through with the just the recent Elm Tree Road East situation and that. So yeah. And then the other question, that's my first question, Brandon. The other one is in part 9, where it says for the public open house, and it's going to be on the town's website. And could we also advertise? Would it be prudent to advertise this in a newspaper, like a lot of the public notice open houses have notification in the newspapers? Is that something we could possibly look at too? So that's it for me. Great job, Brandon.
Thank you. Just to answer the first question in terms of the half load. So the half loads is an existing bylaw that's in place, but under this current bylaw, we also have the ability to specify the haul routes associated with any new site that's issued a permit for it. So again, we can indicate whether it's through the existing roads that are already half load, we can specify again on top of the bylaw that they need to adhere to those rules. We can also dictate what routes they can take to try to minimize impact to those roads. So again, what we'll be trying to do is keep them on the main roads, the ones that are more suitable for the heavy truck traffic, and try to keep them where we can off the rural roads that aren't built as sturdy. The second question in terms of the local advertisement in the newspaper, I don't think that's unreasonable. Just keep in mind again that there is a cost to that. So whether or not that's brought back to the property owner in terms of they would be responsible for, we would recuperate that cost through their application.
Yep. Good. Great. Good job. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Brandon, for your report and all your hard work on this fill bylaw. It's been a long road, but I think we finally got there. So fingers crossed that it's going to work. Just need a mover and a seconder for this. Moved by Councillor Dunstall, second by Councillor Bothwell. Moved by Councillor Dunstall, second by Councillor Bothwell. Resolved that report DPW 20-13 dated May 19th, 2020 be received, and that the enclosed site alteration bylaw and the recommendations made in this report be approved by council. Recorded vote. Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake.
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell. Okay. Councillor Ritchie.
Yay.
Councillor Sharp. Councillor Sharp's a yay. Councillor Bain.
Yay.
Councillor Vardy.
Yay.
And myself, I'm a yay. So that is carried. And up next, we have report FIN 20-08, 2018 audited financial statements, the revised edition. Stephen Greninger. Stephen, you there? Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan, members of council. At the last council meeting, brought forward the 2018 audited financial statements for approval. At that time, council did approve the financial statements. Since that meeting, with thanks to former members of the GEI board and myself, we thought we'd bring some new note disclosures forward to make the statements a little bit more clear. There's basically 3 new notes that were added that provide some added clarity to the statements. And the first note is note 25, which details the write down of the assets in 193-427 Ontario Inc. or Holdco 2. The next note, note 26, also details the write down of future tax asset for Holdco 2. And the other significant note addition is note 29A, which is a subsequent event which details the sale of Holdco 2 in 2019. So basically, we added some more note disclosures to the statements. I just do want to note that the numbers in themselves in the statements didn't change. The accumulated surplus remains the same as was in the statements that were previously presented to council. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. First up, we have Councillor Dunstall.
Stephen, I just wanted to say it in more simple terms. You're just adding a few notes for clarification. Nothing else has changed with the numbers. They're the same as they were before, but we've just added these notes to better explain everything. Is that how I read it from you?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, okay. Specifically the 2 notes on the asset write-downs, and 1 note that was actually missing, which is actually a fairly significant note, and that was the subsequent event of the sale of the company in 2019.
I guess the only additional question is, because it was Grant Thornton that did the audit, excuse me.
That's right.
So are these things that they missed, may I ask? Is this something that they should be questioned about, or I'm just why all these additional notes and why they didn't highlight them in the first place?
I don't think so. I mean, possibly the subsequent event note, I mean, but that could also be myself as well. You know, we were so focused on, I think, doing all the calculations and all the entries to actually merge everything into the town statements that, you know, we forgot the simple thing of indicating that the company was sold in 2019.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's really fair. Yeah, I understand that. I just thought maybe there was, you know, something crucial that they missed, but obviously it was just, it wasn't. So it's just a nice add-on. Okay.
Yeah, it was an oversight, and like I said, thanks to the former members of the GEI board who pointed out some items that we could clarify in the notes, and so I appreciate their help.
Yeah, great. No, good explanation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunstall. Councillor Vardy's up next, then Councillor Frake.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Stephen. Stephen, were you able to add a note saying that we've paid off the $4.8 million loan that that we had taken out?
Yeah, I can do that. We can still have that note added into the final version of the statements.
Because it reflects the town's liabilities, right?
Exactly, yeah. Right now, that 4.5 million shows as a liability on the town's balance sheet, and yes, with the sale, that loan was paid off. That's correct.
So that liability's been eliminated.
That's right.
So it should be reflected, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Can you unmute me? Councillor Frake, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Thank you for, can we finally say congratulations, 2018 is done?
That would be nice. That would be nice to put this to bed.
Are you doubtful?
So we can move on, yes.
Absolutely. Which is my next question, actually. So any estimations on when you think we'll get our 2019 books in order so we can get that audit finished? I know we've had a lot on our plates with COVID, finishing off, going back to 2017, 18, and so on and so forth. But I know that 2019 is now on the longer finger. So any estimates as to when we can see that finished?
Yeah, I'm hoping potentially August, within the next few months to get those done. We'll have to, because we need to start right into budget shortly after that. So we've got a lot of work to do to get all that done. But yes, that's the goal right now.
Of course, when you say budget, you're talking about 2021.
You've got it.
Okay. That's it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for good work.
Thank you, Stephen. We just need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Frake, seconded by Councillor Sharp. Moved by Councillor Frake, seconded by Councillor Sharp. Resolved that report FIN 20-08 dated May 19th, 2020 be received, and that the Town of Grimsby 2018 revised audited financial statements be received, and that the amendments to the financial statements as is identified in this report be approved. And recorded vote, Councillor Bothwell?
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall?
Yay.
Councillor Frake?
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell?
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie?
Yay.
Councillor Sharp?
Yay.
Councillor Vane?
Yay.
Councillor Vardy?
Yay.
Myself, I'm a yay, so that is carried. And up next, we have an update from Councillor Furtick. Councillor Furtick, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for giving me the opportunity to show you that the region is working very hard as well through this virus issue, and we're all keeping our common sense and moving forward. I'm going to start off with the Planning and Economical Development Committee meeting. And there has been a committee formed by the name of the Economical Rapid Response Team to reinforce its work to support Niagara businesses impacted by the COVID-19. It has a web page on the Niagara region, so it's a great source of information for funding announcements for businesses. We also got a look at the draft plan for the Glendale district, which is going to have an estimated population increase of about 15,000 people. It's going to be included in the regional new official plan. And it is quite a community that they're really building in that area. There was a report from staff that they be directed to defer the economical development 10-year regional economical development strategy. And the reason for part of this is they're still dealing with some of the local area municipalities. There's been 6 municipalities that have agreed to work together on the economical development strategy. And also there was 2 municipalities that may join at a later date, and that being Grimsby and Thorold, as they are yet to come on because they're recruiting the economical development officers. So presently they're just deferring this report, and it's going to be a 10-year strategy. There's some other issues in reference to new definitions putting together with the province on employment areas and employment lands. They're being redefined, and they will be consulting now with the local area municipalities and looking at further meetings for the public to provide some of their input. But the good news in our Public Works meeting was we have tentatively agreed to a weekly diaper collection. So I hope that Councillor Sharp is not going to put his diapers on my front yard. He's going to leave them on his own. So, and it's regardless of the number of children, but they must be under the age of 4. And there's some pre-consultation and some pre-registration that has to be done. You would have to notify the region and fill out a form. And until your child is 4 years old, they'll pick up your bag of goodies. Some of this, as far as in reference to the effective date, it's going to go to council this Thursday. So there's not going to be a change in that format, but I don't know exactly what the effective date is yet. Public Works, we also deferred the 2020. That's pretty good. I like that. 2020, you know. Water and wastewater rate increases, which was approved in December of 2019, is going to council on Thursday evening. 10 of the 11 municipalities have already approved their budgets, and they've already put their levies through. So I'm not going to say that this is going to go through, because there seems to be a lot of controversy, and there was a lot of controversy about deferring any of the water and wastewater rate increases. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Thursday evening at the council meeting. We have finally approved the 2019 audited consolidated financial statements for the region. And we have also received reports, particularly for the development charges for 2019. So that's just a brief summary of the region. Has been extremely busy through this, and we hope everybody stays safe. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Thank you, Councillor Furtick. Looks like Councillor Sharp has a question, and up next, Councillor Barty after that.
Thanks, Mayor Jordan. Councillor Furtick, I appreciate your report, and I'm really happy about the diaper collection. I have kids under 4. I have we have a lot of diapers, and I was thinking about keeping them for 2 weeks, and in the part of the summer, trying to store that in my garage or outside my, where do you put bags of you know what? And I currently, we already get a diaper exemption, and other families get that. So if you have kids under 4, I forget all, but you have to fill out a form, put the kids' birth dates in, send it to the region, and you can put a clear bag out with diapers in it. And because if you have, like me, 2 or 3 kids in diapers, it's a lot. And even on the weekly garbage, we're allowed to put out an extra bag. So I'm happy to hear that they are going to allow diapers to be put out. And I look forward to seeing whatever paperwork that we have to fill to get that done. Thanks, Councillor Furtick.
Through the chair, we were going to call this the Sharp Act, but they just didn't go for it. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vardy, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, sir, you, Mr. Mayor. And again, Councillor Furtick, on the issue of diapers, I guess what I'm thinking about are, children and adults with disabilities, and many older adults use diapers. So the issue of under 4 or 4 and under, when there might be residents out there with a significant need. And is there a way that you can address this or raise this at the region? Because it doesn't seem fair to that constituency that, requires that kind of support.
Well, thanks, Councillor Vardy. Through the chair, I do know that there is also what's called a medical bag, and I assumed that they were using the medical bag for syringes and that sort of thing. So I'll check into it. I don't see that it's an issue.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that they're not left out. Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks for your report, Councillor Furtick, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Up next, we have a motion that was requested 2 weeks ago by Councillor Vardy. Councillor Vardy, you wanted to speak on that before you read it?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. I've decided to defer that motion sort of indefinitely because what I really wanted to do in giving this some thought, I want us to focus on reductions and savings that we can make this year because of COVID. And what I'm wanting to do is I don't want to carry our COVID debt of 2020 into 2021. So I'd like to see if we can't make some spending reductions to offset those deficits or reductions in revenues that we won't be getting this year, and so that we can kind of start with a clean slate next year and not have to carry this over.
All right, Councillor Vardy, just a clarification. Did you want to defer that, or did you want to withdraw it? Because deferring it, we need to vote on it. Withdrawing it, it just is off the table.
I'll withdraw it.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Up next, we have correspondence. Need a mover and a seconder for the correspondence. Councillor Ritchie and Councillor Bain. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Bain. Resolved that the correspondence received from Niagara Region with references to 2020 property tax policy ratios and rates, COVID-19 government relations strategy, and COVID-19 preliminary overview of financial impacts be received. And before we vote on this, is there any questions on any of these? Councillor Bothwell?
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I just wanted to comment on the property tax policy ratios and rates correspondence from the region. I had a question when I saw that. I'm just going to pull up the report for a second, and then I'll speak to the section. So it was dated May 7th. And on page they talk about the tax assessment and impacts tax assessment, that it's going to, there it is, page 7 of that report, the anticipated impact of the 2021 reassessment. So I confirmed with Rob Faulkner, I think it is, the author of this report, that when they wrote it, they had not taken into account that MPAC has suspended the 2021 assessment. They're not going to be starting that, so we'll be getting this. We will be paying the same tax rates based on our 2020 taxes, which is based on the January 2016 assessment. So the new assessment cycle isn't going to start until 2022, actually. So in this report, it talks about the residential tax class in Niagara is anticipated to experience a 50% increase in average assessed values, while all other non-residential classes will experience an approximate 20% assessment value increase. The increase for the residential tax class is approximately 20% higher than the MPAC average for the region of Niagara, Peel, and Halton, cities of Hamilton and Brantford, and counties of Haldimand. So I just clarified with the author of this report that, in fact, that 50% assessment increase is probably not going to be taking effect until 2022 because of the suspension by MPAC. So it does mean it's still going to happen. It just might mean it's compressed into 3 years instead of 4 of that cycle. So I just wanted people to be aware that there's that little bit of a change to the way this report is written, and just bringing that forward for information. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cadwell?
Hear me all right? Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
you can
sorry.
hear.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor Jordan. Yeah, I just got a question in regards to the Schedule B, the general tax levy. A lot of big numbers in there, and it's under the column of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. We're paying about almost $100,000 more than a lot, well, Fort Erie and Lincoln, who is above and below us. So how is that calculated? How they figure what we pay? Is it based on the amount of property, or you don't have to? I just look for an answer. I don't need it tonight, Mayor, but I'd be interested in knowing how the calculation is for Grimsby.
Yeah, well, I'm no longer on the MPCA, but I believe it's percentage of watershed in our municipality. So it's a percentage of the Niagara MPCA's watershed in our municipality, and that's what the numbers are derived from.
Okay.
I'll check on that again, but I believe that's what it is.
All right, I appreciate that, Mayor. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions for the correspondence resolutions, I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Bain. Resolved that the correspondence received from Niagara Region with references to 2020 property tax policy ratios and rates, COVID-19 government relations strategy, and COVID-19 preliminary overview of financial impacts be received. All in favor of the recorded vote, Councillor Bothwell?
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall?
Yay.
Councillor Frake?
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell? Councillor Ritchie?
Yay.
Councillor Sharp?
Yay.
Councillor Bain?
Yay.
Councillor Vardy?
Yay.
Myself is yay, so that's carried. Up next, we have correspondence from area municipalities. We'll get a mover and a seconder for that first. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Bain and Councillor Ritchie. Any discussion on them before I read the resolution? Seeing no, Councillor Vardy, was that a hand up or was it you? Don't touch your face. I'll read the resolution, seeing no discussion. Moved by Councillor Bain, second by Councillor Ritchie. Resolved that the correspondence received from the area municipalities with reference to Canada-US border crossings, essential traffic only, COVID-19 request for emergency funding for municipalities from the Government of Canada, Canada Emergency Response Benefits, Niagara Parks Commission development of Millers Creek Marina, and COVID-19 update dated May 6, 2020 be received. On recorded vote, Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake.
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell.
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie.
Yay.
Councillor Sharp.
Yay.
Councillor Bain.
Yay.
Councillor Vardy.
Yay.
Myself, it's a yay, so that's carried. Need a mover and seconder for the correspondence from Enbridge. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Bain. Any discussion? Councillor Bothwell?
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I noticed that you've drafted a letter of support for that. It talks about potential new customers, and the scope of the area they're looking at is quite extensive. Lincoln, West Lincoln in our area on the map. They were talking about seeking potential commercial customers like greenhouses and whatever that are large operations, putting in expressions of interest to them if they were coming to our area. And then this would be the foundation for why Enbridge, I understand, is requesting this this funding mechanism through the ministry. So environment through the Energy Act. So my question is, the expressions of interest to Enbridge ended May 13th. Considering that this could be a draw for significant increased economic development to the town, do we have a handle as to which commercial enterprises or greenhouses may be looking at locating and needing this type of expansion of the gas service? Have we got, I guess this is for our CAO Schlang, if he has a connection to Enbridge to find out what that might look like in terms of expansion for Grimsby in the sense of new economic development opportunities. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Bothwell. In Grimsby, we weren't sure about what potential commercial opportunities there were, but I know there's some in West Lincoln and Lincoln. And, you know, we wanted to support our neighboring municipalities, and then it allows us that opportunity if there is some expansion or some new growth there. So at this point in time, we didn't size up what Grimsby's potential was there.
Let's just leave that door open for your economic development officer to follow up with Enbridge guys to find out what they know, and then we can find out what they know, and it can help us with, it's just a lead in is what I'm saying to potential,
yes,
potential growth opportunities. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bothwell. Seeing no further questions, I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Bain. Resolved that the correspondence received from Enbridge be received and the mayor be authorized to sign the letter of support for Enbridge's application for funding under the natural gas expansion support program for the Grimsby-Lincoln Regional Expansion Project. Recorded vote, Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake,
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell,
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie,
Yay.
Councillor Sharp,
Yay.
Councillor Vane,
Yay.
Councillor Vardy,
Yay.
and myself a yay. That's carried. Up next, we have referred matters list dated May 19th, 2020. Need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Dunstall and seconded by Councillor Vane. Any discussion? Councillor Cadwell.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mayor Jordan. I hit the wrong button again. Yeah, no, I'm fine with the report. Yeah.
Great. Councillor Bothwell.
Thanks again, Mayor Jordan. I appreciate this information. I think it's great that the clerks pulled that together to show us the outstanding items that and anticipated timelines that they will be dealt with. I think that's great. I'm also looking forward to, I think it's Councillor Cadwell and Councillor Sharp's report on their hydro meeting. And now that's not in there, but that was a commitment from them, I think, to come back to us with that. So it would be great to just to see that come through as well. My questions are, I guess, to CAO Schlang on the, and I kind of touched on it with them, the Casablanca Northeast Quadrant interchange, which has been sort of in discussion since 2016 when we did the secondary plan for the GO station and it was removed, and then it was determined, well, who owns it? The town owns it? No, the region owns it. Let's get that paperwork tied up. And that's been ongoing now for almost 4 years. So I understand that CEO Schlang had an update on May 4th from the region. If there's a way you can touch on that, it says they're expecting to come back to the region in Q3. I understood it was in legal hands. Just wondering if you can have an update on that one. And also the Livingston extension that I brought that motion forward at the last meeting that the region was going to had filed, and we were just waiting for the closure from the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks for them to respond to it. With the anticipation that they could be filing the notice of completion at any time. This indicates the week of May 18th that it could be registered and that we have 45 days. I just want to know if perhaps Councillor CEO Schlang has any more information on that. And then if it's indicated here that the contact or the people that will be actioning that is Public Works, and CAO will do it with support of legal services. So I'm just interested how they anticipate moving forward with getting the information required for the Part 2 order. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Bothwell. On the first item, yes, as you know, Councillor Bothwell, I've been following up on this with the region on the transfer. Went from MTO, supposed to come to us, it went to the region. We understand there's a number of parcels that have this administrative problem. They've been working on it. They have to go to regional council and they're targeting Q3 for that housekeeping. There's some other housekeeping around that. There's some other parcels they found in that vicinity that should be coming to us or going to them. So I reached out to the CAO and asked for a meeting with legal. Todd Harrison is in charge of legal. He's the Commissioner of Corporate Services. So I had the CAO, I had the Commissioner of Corporate Services, and I had the Director of Transportation. And so they've given me this update, and I'll continue to follow up with them. Once they get that approval, then we kick in to make that happen. So that's the most recent status of that May 4th meeting. On the second item, yeah, we've talked to the Director of Transportation and the CAO the day after, 2 days after the council meeting, and we were asking when the ministry was coming back to the region. They said it would be this week. They were hoping they would see something back from the ministry tomorrow, I believe. So then we have 45 days from then on to register our Part 2. And we have both Brendan and I have had Part 2s issued against us, so we got some familiarity with that. So we're now getting legal advice from Aaron Burles of how we could file a Part 2 and challenge the process. So we will be working on that as soon as we get that from the region.
Thanks. My concern is that, as you're aware, then that Part 2 orders require a number of background information as to with regards to the process and how it's evolved and occurred over the time frame that we've been undergoing the EA process. I'm just not sure how you're going to gather all the factual evidence required to support that Part 2 order, considering I don't think you and Brandon were at any of those meetings or very many of them. So I'm just concerned how we're going to gather there was some correspondence that's gone back and forth between counselors on it, and between Carolyn Ryle and myself on it. So I'm just wondering how we're going to have the strength and the depth and the breadth of the content that we need to fully make our case on that process issue.
Yeah, at our preliminary meeting, one of the staff members in Public Works, is getting a handle of that. If we need some more information, we'll reach out to counselors, but we're getting ready for that. We're mobilizing to do as much research as we can to challenge the process and issue that Part 2 order. But we'll keep you up to date.
Okay, well then I'm thinking that since I feel very, very strongly about the information that I've gathered towards a Part 2 order, I think I'm going to move forward on my own and submit my own Part 2 order, because I think otherwise the content that I have is not going to be captured. You're not going to get it. So it makes sense that I might as well do my own then, because it sounds like you are on your own path. Is that correct? Would that make sense that I just do my own?
We're taking the direction of council. We're moving forward. You have the right to go on your own. In most cases, residents do this, the Part 2 orders. I've rarely seen a municipality, issue a Part 2 against another municipality, but we've been directed to do so, and we're going to move forward accordingly.
Yeah, the direction was that it wasn't to give the CAO to do it. It was council and legal. So I'm just not sure where the information is going to come from to do it. If you guys feel that you can put a strong case together, based on what you have, that's great. But I think then that I'm just going to do one as well on my own, and we can put in as many Part 2 orders as we need to, I understand, right?
Yes, you can. You can put multiple.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bothwell. Seeing no further questions on this, I will read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Dunstall, second by Councillor Bain. Resolved that the referred matters list dated May 19th, 2020 be received for information. Recorded vote. Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake.
Yay.
Councillor Frake's a yay. Councillor Cadwell.
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie.
Yay.
Councillor Sharp.
Yay.
Councillor Bain.
Yay.
And myself, a yay. So it's carried.
Hey. You
Oh,
missed.
Councillor Vardy.
Thank you. Yay.
All right. Thank you. That's unanimous. It's new business now. Oh, the bylaws, right? Just need a mover and a seconder for the first reading of the bylaws. Councillor Ritchie and Councillor Sharp. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Sharp. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaws number 20-44, 20-48 to 20-50 inclusive, and that be read a first time. Recorded vote, Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake.
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell.
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie.
Yay.
Councillor Sharp.
Yay.
Councillor Bain.
Yay.
Councillor Vardy.
Yay.
And myself a yay. That's carried. Up next, we have new business, and I'll just jump in with one piece of new business. I'll put it on. This is the face shields that that the DIA was proud with in partnership with the town. We're proud to roll out on Main Street with the DIA businesses, and any other businesses in town can pick up their 2 face shields at the News Now offices. And the nice thing about this face shield, you can actually talk to someone, but you're protected and you can see their smile. And it's got the Town of Grimsby logo on it, the DIA logo, and the Woodworkers United, which is a local company out of Mississauga, but one of the partners lives in Grimsby, and he actually jigged woodworking tools to make this out of the plastic. And it's adjustable and it pulls out, so you can talk a little easier. And it's really a great effort and a great collaborative effort that worked for everyone. So without further ado, I'll take this off, and up next we have Councillor Frake.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two items actually I'd like to ask about. I received an email this morning from one of our councillors that noted that we should probably send all requests to the CAO when it comes, so we can free up the time and the busyness of our staff and our seniors.
Point of order. This is new business. This is not for questions.
I beg to differ. It's new business. I'd like to know what I would like
New
to
business
know.
is supposed to be for announcements and like it's not a time to a request like this should come somewhere.
I'm waiting for a ruling.
Not in.
Is this a
The new
clarification,
business is for
or
announcement.
is it a clarification, Councillor Frake? Or
Yeah, I'd like to clarify whether we should be directing all of our requests through the CAO before it goes to senior staff. Is there a process or is there rules around that?
Maybe the CAO would want to talk about that, but I think I don't have a problem with councillors clarifying things and asking things from senior staff. I certainly think it's worked well in the past on other councils, and I don't see it being any different in my opinion.
I have no problem with doing that, but I just would like to know if that's what we need to do.
As long as councillors aren't directing staff and it sticks at the director level and myself, I'm okay with that. But as long as it's not directing staff to spend time doing some work that isn't approved by council, and as long as it's at the director level, we could work on that. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification, CAO. Councillor Bakwa?
Thanks, Mayor Jordan. It's just asking the clerk if for a bit of an update, if possible, on when we might be looking at getting back to having the public be able to engage with us and participate in our Zoom meetings or in some other way. I understand that clerks attended the April 21st Niagara Falls planning. They had a planning open house or a statutory meeting where the public was invited to participate in a number of different ways to that meeting. And I'm just wondering, are we looking at, we've been going on this COVID path for quite some time now. We don't know how long it's going to go. I would just like to see the opportunities for the public to be able to engage with us either as a delegation to our meetings or to, again, to try to get our committees resurrected. Can you give me some idea as to when you might see that happening?
Yes, we've been currently monitoring all other municipalities and their public open meetings, and we're in the process of drafting a best procedure, and we're targeting for June.
Thank you.
Councillor Cadwell.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Jordan. I just want to, just a comment. Hearing from a lot of people around town with the COVID-19 and the good weather, and a lot of people out walking about, and a lot of people walking their dogs. And I just would like to remind people that when your dog does his business, or their business, sorry, that you please clean up after your dog. I've had some complaints from people. I'm out with my dog a lot too, and I've seen areas, whether it's along the sidewalks and that, where dogs have left, I'll call it their business, and people aren't picking up after. So yeah, please, people, out of respect to people's property, our public property, if you could please clean up after your dog, it'd be greatly appreciated by everybody. And enjoy the time out walking with your pets, but please clean up after your pets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cadwell. Councillor Ritchie's up next, then Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair. Last week, the town of Grimsby lost one of its staff to another municipality. So I just wanted to thank her for all of her years of dedicated service and everything that she's done for the town of Grimsby. Her contributions have been tremendous for the town. So I just wanted to say thank you and best of luck on your future endeavors.
Councillor Bain.
Just two things I'm going to add to two of the other councillors. To Councillor Ritchie, I also want to extend a huge thank you for everything that individual did for us and wish them nothing but the best in their future endeavors. As far as Councillor Cadwell's comment, two things I do want to point out, and just to add to his comments, Lynn Timmers, I believe of Lincoln, Dave Cadwell, you would know that's Lynn. She's in Lincoln, right? Okay. She had put an excellent comment in the paper about what was it, about people who are hard of sight, either blind or have low sight. You know, it's not fair to people like that who are walking along, and even the regular individuals, when we could be out with our kids and our kids could step in it. So, but one other point that I hope will hit home a little harder is that if you get caught by bylaw not picking up after your dog, or as some people like to do, they'll pick it up and then when they think nobody's looking, they'll throw the bag on the ground because it's compostable. If you get caught by our bylaw, penalty is $2,000. So just keep that in mind next time you think you've got the responsibility for the dog. I want a dog, but I don't have one because I don't have the time to take care of the dog properly. So if you have one, please take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Seeing no other new business, need a mover and a seconder for the second reading of the bylaws. Councillor Ritchie, Councillor Cadwell. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Cadwell. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaws number 20-44, 20-48 to 2050, inclusive, read a first time, now be read a second and third time, and finally passed, and the mayor and town clerk do sign and seal the same, and the rule of council to the contrary notwithstanding. Recorded vote. Councillor Bothwell.
Yay.
Councillor Dunstall.
Yay.
Councillor Frake.
Yay.
Councillor Cadwell.
Yay.
Councillor Ritchie.
Yay.
Councillor Sharp. Councillor Sharp. Yay. Councillor Sharp's a yay. Councillor Bain.
Yay.
Councillor Vardy.
Yay.
Myself a yay. That's carried. And meeting is adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Next council meeting?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Councillor Ritchie. Next council meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 1st, 2020, and I believe it still will be a virtual meeting because the emergency effect is been extended to June 2nd. Thanks again for that, Councillor Ritchie, and now, good night.